Hello, we are live, and thank you so much for joining this session. My name is Ginger. I'll be the host of this session. I'm the content manager at Hackster. So for those who you are new to Hackster, contest is something that we do to engage developers to upskill their abilities, and we are super excited to launch actually this new contest with Microchip during today's Impact Summit. And it's co-organized with Microchip, and we're giving away 100 pieces of AVR-IoT cellular mini board. So in today's session, we'll have a roundtable discussion with all of our judges, and we're going to talk about the contest. We're going to talk about why participate in the contest and some more technical details about this board, and hope you enjoy this session. So without further ado, let me introduce everyone to our judges and our roundtable panelists. We'll start from Bob.
Hi there. We're getting some echo. Does anybody hearing echo, or is it just me?
We hear the echo.
Okay. I wonder why we're getting the echo. All right. Okay, I'm just going to start talking. Okay, hi, I'm Bob Martin, the Wizard of Make for Microchip. I'm the one that created this extravaganza that we're about to start. And Ginger and myself collected a panel of very capable judges. So I'll let everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll come back and get some catch-up information from me, and then we'll hand it on.
Yeah, so Bob at Microchip is the Wizard of Make, a very capable engineer, and a super friend of Hackster. So we're super excited to launch this contest with Bob. We've been working on this, concept actually for many months now. With the next one, we're going to introduce Jeremy.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So Jeremy, I'm leading product marketing effort in the US for my company, Sequans Communications. We are designing semiconductor solutions for cellular, 4G, and 5G connectivity for the IoT market. In the AVR-IoT cellular mini that we'll be using in the framework of this contest, you will see a Sequans cellular module, and that's this piece that will give you the connectivity, well, hopefully, to any LTE network. I'm grateful to have been invited as a judge to this event by Bob and Hackster. I'm new to Hackster, but what I've enjoy for this ecosystem is that the goal is really to develop a meaningful application. Sometimes as technology providers, we're thinking about the technology to enable sustainability, like using solar cells to power an IoT device, minimize power consumption when we design our LTE module, or combine with power efficient sensors. We're thinking about all this, but eventually what I realized when talking to my fellow judges is that you can really make an impact by going through the application that you are developing, not necessarily only about the technology, but what kind of application you can create that has an impact, that is meaningful. And when we started talking about it with the other judges, you can really see like various types of applications that would be meaningful in this context. So I'm really looking forward to seeing various proposals and talking about it with you and with the judges and supporting you in this effort.
Thank you, Jeremy. And then we have Kate.
Hi, my name is Kate Fisher. I am a photovoltaics researcher at Arizona State University. And that means that I have spent most of my life, thinking about how to make solar cells more efficient, or at least the same efficiency, whilst also using generally less expensive materials, but also just less materials. So less. How can we make more energy from sunlight by using less materials and generating less waste? And so it's a lot of material science and test engineering and product testing and monitoring of the resource to know that you're generating the right output from the inputs. All of that to say that I am not that and bomb reduction exactly to say that I am not that familiar with microcontrollers, but so my expertise comes in on the sustainability side, but also knowing about competitions. So as in my research at Arizona State University, we and what I'm currently doing now, I co-founded a company called Sunflex Solar in order to enter a competition called the American-made Solar Prize Challenge, competition run by the Department of Energy. And so we started our business to win this competition, which we did win, and then we developed a product which we are now doing a tech transfer with a module manufacturing company up in Washington State. So doing competitions like this it's not just for the competition, it can lead to bigger and better things and gives you a chance to showcase your ideas and how they are applicable to sustainability.
Amazing. Thanks, Kay. And then Keenan was actually last year one of our Impact Summit speaker as well, talk about his nonprofit called Ribbit Network. So this year we're super excited, to also invite him to be a judge of this contest. So Keenan, tell us more about you.
Hello, yeah, thanks, Ginger, and good to see everyone. Honored to be a part of this group of judges. I'm an engineer and maker who I've sort of spent my life kind of on the application side of technology. So I think that's perhaps where I bring a lot of that's my expertise, I guess, coming into the panel. I've had a long history of an engineering career. I started my work in aerospace, have transitioned almost entirely to climate, and I get to work with tons of different companies and problems all over the world, solving really hard tech engineering challenges, and a lot of that is related to power and remote sensing, battery systems, all things that are really important to solve kind of our hardest problems. Probably my most relevant thing is, as Ginger mentioned, I am the founder of a nonprofit that does open source hardware and software for greenhouse gas monitoring. That's called Ribbit Network, and I'd encourage you to check it out if you're interested. But that kind of an application is the sort of thing that's the perfect place for something like this cellular board to kind of slot into. And so I'm really excited as we kind of talk about this board, which is excellent and super accessible. And I think the contest is a great format to introduce people to it and kind of give you a way to get your creative juices flowing. I'm excited to see how you think about the problems that you see in the world and how this could fix those. So yeah, excited to learn from you all.
Thank you, Keenan. And then lastly, we have Dahl also here. Dahl was also one of our Impact Summit speaker last year. So again, welcome back, and we're super excited that you are one of the judge. And Dahl is also one of the OSHRA, which is Open Source Hardware Association's Trailblazer Fellow that works in academia. So also an entrepreneur herself and a CEO of a company. So Dahl, tell us more about yourself.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today for this conference. Dahl Winters, CEO, co-founder of a company, TerraNexum. We're very interested in sustainability issues, and I've been personally interested in applying open source and open hardware technologies to the issues of sustainability. So environmental sensing, being able to collect data and process those from a variety of locations. Cities, of course, have great communication, lots of access, but in areas throughout the world, there are mixtures of available access types. So basically cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, LoRa, which is the low power communication methods, and how do we get information from where it's being generated to where it is needed in order to perform good actions? make good decisions on sustainability. That's one of the uses for this board. Certainly, there's many uses for what you're going to be building in this competition. Certainly, there's I can advise on many things, but I just love seeing the creativity and the degree to which people will be able to make use of the new technologies that become available. I've had a background in geospatial big data analytics. I get used to seeing a ton of data coming through from satellites, from remote sensing, and aerial drone imagery, and then of course you have the Internet of Things, lots of small data. So, but collectively it becomes very big and very highly impactful. So happy to be here today and to join as a judge.
Awesome. So yeah, and so for today, we really just want to get people who are not signed up for the contest yet. Maybe it's a way for you to participate in the Hackster community. It's something that we very much love to do. It's a mechanism where we can distribute the hardware to our global wide developers, as well as for you to through that process learn about the hardware and with the project that you can showcase. So one thing, a couple of things I want to mention in today's session and discuss with the judges. One is about open source. So for people who are actually building this and laying out their documentation, they're basically open sourcing their project. What do you see it as kind of like the impact on in terms of like when we talk about impact, right? Social impact. Like a lot of our audiences sometimes don't understand how you go from open source to like a full deployment, like is a conflict with each other. So Keenan, you've been working in this open source and nonprofit, for a while. Perhaps you can share some of your perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I think what a lot of people have this really sort of binary view of like it's this open source thing, which is like a side project over here that you maybe did in school to get a job, and then there's sort of like professional serious work over here. But if you look at the way that technology rolls out into the world, it's very much not like that at all. It's sort of all this continuous ecosystem where everybody's kind of supporting each other and pulling ideas and sort of de-risking different parts of the technology, the deployment together. And open source has a really great role to play in that, where it's sort of the proving ground and experimental place where people can prove out ideas and de-risk certain technologies or modes of thinking about how hardware is used for a different solution. And what you see is that's often the place where a lot of companies kind of are born. And then what's really interesting that we're starting to see happen a lot more is this great union between sort of academia and open source coming together to create reproducible research. And that's the exact kind of IP and ideas that people are really excited. And it makes it the perfect launching ground to say like, great, like how do we convert that into a solution that can happen at scale? And sometimes that can happen through a nonprofit. Sometimes that can happen through a for-profit company. Sometimes it can be a government or a city or your state or whatever sort of the entity that you exist in society is. They can deploy technology directly. But yeah, it's really tough for anybody to like think about sort of solving these really hard problems with just sort of one isolated container. And I think the open source sort of maker movement, about publishing your work and especially things like Hackster contest are really great because it sort of founds projects and ideas for technology on the sense of openness, which is the root of academia, which is a very successful institution for a long time. And so I kind of think about open source as like it's the academic paper equivalent for technology solutions today. And I think it'll be around for a really long time and have a really important role to play in how we solve tough problems.
Yeah, and for me, I really love, in our previous conversation, Keenan, you always mentioned that with open source, the way that you're able to collaborate and remix for like new ideas. So kind of like what we're looking for in these kind of contests is for people, like if you have like a Rabbit prototype of something you've been thinking of, that you're able to document it. And then when you share it on Hackster, one of the really great thing is that there's eyes, from around the world, gets to your project. You're able to not only share, but when people come back, sometimes with a feedback, we've had this, with some other contest entries, or winning countries, or, even if it's just evergreen on Hackster, like people from around the world be like, oh, this is a really great idea. I would really love to implement this, for real in my city. And we've actually had one of that really good example, from one of our drone project. So in terms of, like coming back to this contest, we specifically themed it around smart city, and we have 3 tracks, for the contest participants to join in. One of them is predictive maintenance. It's more towards like industrial, and another one is waste management. It's about city management, and then another track is interspecies interactions. Now, for this contest, what we're really trying to enable is for contest participants to build an application that reads sensor data, but also creates an action. That's a really meaningful thing to translate, right? From just environmental sensing, but towards something that gives insight to city officials, to people who are working in the industry to really really understand and use the data. Now, I'd love to also just get the judges' opinion on, when we're talking about the contest entries, what would be a good design? What would be a good contest entry? And from like the technical level, what does a good system design looks like? So I want to touch a little bit about, like the real-time aspect, and maybe Dahl can perhaps, chime in on here in terms of, these real-time, why does real-time data is important in real deployment?
Sure. So real-time data, of course, coming in from a variety of sources, the faster you get it into a place where it's needed, the faster decisions can get made, the faster that outcomes can happen. So certainly, to get data in as fast as possible, that's why technologies that allow large enough bandwidths, high enough speeds, such as using cellular in places where this board can certainly provide that data collection directly to the cloud. That's an application where you can achieve near real time or even real time pretty much speeds depending on your connection. There's cellular data that provides, you can get access through cellular connections to stream data to the cloud. You can also have IoT. That's a place where you can collect multiple sensors and send the data to a place in the cloud that has like an IoT Connect type portal, or AWS. There's different types available, Greengrass and other things, but there's IoT on AWS is something else that works. There's open source or open platforms that are available and that do as good of a job and of collecting data. There are applications for these, for good systems designs. When you're able to collect data quickly from multiple sources, you always want to make sure that you lower the power that you actually need for the amount of data you're going to send. That's always a good strategy. It means that you can collect data for longer. If you might have intermittency, then you might need a backup of power. That's something that might need to be integrated. If you're going to be certainly connected up all the time, then maybe that's not such an important portion of your design. So there's different things to think about. Data volume, the speed at which it's getting through, in addition to just the design of your circuit, of what you're using it for. So we want to make sure that there's a good application, something that is useful, that can achieve the goals of competition. And so however that gets made, there's technical requirements to think about. We want to make sure that there's good redundancy. If there's a chance that data might get skipped, that influences the end result. That's something to kind of to look at as well. So how you're handling it is entirely up to you, but it's there's many different ways of doing such things. So certainly would love to see what comes in.
Yeah, and Kate, you come from the student competition, background. So what are you looking for, as a judge, in the contest entry? What do you think is the most important thing in the documentations, and the whole architecture of an application, specifically in this contest?
Yeah, so I think one thing that is very important is we want to be working on important problems. So defining the scope, defining the problem of your project. It's fun to program things and make them do stuff and go, hey, that's really cool. But what is it actually useful for? What are you trying to do with your microcontroller, and how does it help the world in general? and achieve our sustainability goals that we're all so interested in.
And Jeremy, what do you think? As a judge, what's important to you?
Yeah, I was thinking about one of the aspects that Dahl was mentioning on real-time data, and the fact that because we have this unique capability with the Microchip MCU to do some edge processing, process locally the data at the same time as using the cloud to do all the kind of computing, finding the right balance between what you would do locally versus what you would do remotely on the cloud could be interesting in terms of providing enough redundancy, making sure that you have a good reliability in your device so that it can achieve what you would like it to achieve. So yeah, there are several aspects. It's complex because you're looking at the whole system to achieve a specific goal. So we would be looking at all of these pieces together to make sure that as well eventually beyond the goal of achieving a sustainable solution, something that can help having an impact. It's about whether there's a way for productization. It just doesn't stop at the level of a nice working prototype, but how can it scale?
And in terms of scalability, that's why the architecture, right? It doesn't have it really needs to address, not only just like one prototype, but really in like deployment, like scenario, how the whole backend works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Bob, as a creator of the contest, what are you looking for, as a judge, in a contest entry?
Yeah, so that's a good point, and it comes back to, and one of the key things which has been mentioned is it's just not taking data and displaying it to a dashboard. We have a really capable microcontroller on this node end, so it's important to make some decisions either locally or on the cloud and get it back down to that node, get it down to that microcontroller, which again, microcontrollers were built to talk to hardware. This board was made specifically in the Adafruit Feather format, so it will take the wing boards. It has an onboard battery charging circuit for a lithium polymer. So it was built to be in portable environments. It has lots of low power features on it. On the contest website, there's a whole bunch of resources that I invite you to go look at I just want to do some technical cleanups on it, because I was on the Discord channel. All of the judges, including myself, will be setting up office hours on that Discord channel. I'm gonna try and address a lot of them, but there's a lot of questions coming in quickly right now. Is you can use any SIM card you want to if it's IoT enabled. Like if it's an LTE, we're not. The board comes if you are one of the lucky 100 that get a board. You get a TruePhone SIM card. You're not bound to that TruePhone SIM card. We have not locked the board in any way to a TruePhone SIM card. If you've got an LTE capable SIM card, then by all means go use it. There is unfortunately a quick bug, or an unfortunate bug that showed up in the Arduino interface, and let me step back. This board is completely supported in Arduino. In fact, it's only supported in Arduino. There is a complete AVR-IoT library for it, and then you have to install DX Core, which is the board library for this device and all the new AVRs. There's a bug in the Arduino interface. Go check out Keenan's excellent tutorial on our website. And at the end, it shows you how to get over that installation bug. It's annoying, but it's trivial. Yeah, so there are other things that I was getting questions on. Do people need to, as we were talking about, like the action? Obviously, if you're targeting a large irrigation system, you don't have to replicate a large irrigation system. But we want a physical instantiation of what at least one node or a model or a scaled down model of, instead of just turning on an LED. That's not the same as the aspects you were thinking about, like turning on a motor or the actual physical instantiation. Again, scaled down is fine. Okay, but that's one of the things I'm going to be looking for. Is, did you think about how this action actually has to interface to a possible scaled down real world? Okay. That is pretty much what I wanted to cover. Like I said, on this Discord channel, I'll be doing technical support. I'll put up my office hours, but I'll log in every day and try and address as much as I aggregate the issues in installing. Jeremy is going to be an expert on the Sequans modem, being from Sequans. The other thing I want you to consider is, if you're going up to the TruePhone, make sure you have area coverage. And one more thing we need to talk about. There is a conception for people in, especially in Europe for some reasons, and I can't use this because I don't have 5G. You don't need 5G coverage. 4G is what you need, okay? I ran into this last year for some reason. In Europe, there's this perception that they need 5G. So go to TruePhone, see what the coverage is. I would, and make sure that there's coverage there. TruePhone has got a lot of regions covered. If not, look at other SIM providers. Okay. So that's my little technical catch up for as many questions as I can answer right now.
And potentially, Bob, just to complement what you're saying on the TruePhone SIM card, and from the experience that we have, so we have our headquarters in France, as you could have somehow guessed, and so we're using our TruePhone SIM card whenever we're doing tests in France, in the UK. We've been using it in Germany, talking about the European countries, Netherlands, Belgium, that works well, and all across the US and Canada. We've been testing with TruePhone. And they have agreements with as many operators that give like a reasonable high level of confidence that you can get access to an LTE-M connectivity somehow.
Yeah, I haven't. I've shipped demos using this board to Hong Kong, and they're fine too.
Okay.
So.
All right. With time limitation, like I think we have to wrap up this session. But really quickly, just for the audiences, if you go to Hackster, go to contest, the Future of Resilience contest will start open our submission in 3 hours. So it's literally launching in a couple hours. And what you can do is you can register here as a participant, and then you can apply for hardware. We're giving away 100 pieces of AVR-IoT Cellular Mini to the top proposals. So put in your application now, you'll win the hardware, we'll ship those to you, and then you can go to the rules to look at the judging criteria. Go to the rules to look at the judging criteria. And then also we have gathered, our abundant resource for you to get started with the hardware. And also, not the least, have amazing awards, that we have gathered for you to really incentivize you to participate and build a project. So yeah, please go to the contest page, and it will list everything, including the judges, and we have our resources from our own team, as well as all the resources from all around, including like Keenan, he wrote up a full tutorial, and many others. And again, go to the contest Discord, where you will meet other peers. There's a Discord channel where we'll be, our judges will have their office hours. You can interact with them directly. So leverage this opportunity to get into smart city, to showcase your own project wherever you are in the world. We really welcome any developers who has an idea to really use these contest opportunities to participate in something that, when we say smart city, right, it sounds like so big, so grand, that's something like a normal citizen wouldn't be able to participate in. But we've seen so many success stories from the contest where this where you could make an impact, by being a smart citizen, and then we will help promote your project, and we're really looking forward for all of you to join this contest, and not only to get some amazing hardware, win some prizes, but a way to participate in a large open source community.